Hi guys. I made it. We'll just give a few minutes to let some people jump on here. I know there's a couple people that were letting me know that they would be joining us shortly. Hello, lovely being of one. I'm glad you could make it. I'm loving how tanned I'm looking because of my shirt. I realized I don't even tan, so that's totally like I stay pasty all year and I love it. But because of my shirt, I know. I had done a quick little post. Apparently, electronics tend to have a we have a let's say eclectic, vibrant relationship, to put it nicely. I couldn't find the live again. Live button. Don't ask. But I seem to like I swear it moves on me. But anyways, we're here. We've made it. A few minutes past time, but that's okay. Yeah, hi. Hillary Raven Porter here, Heartfield Frequency Facilitator, and Tamiana Starseed Oracle. So we're here today. Today's the super moon. So what is the date today? Today's the 26th of April, Monday, and it's a super moon in Scorpio. Yeah. Full moon. Apparently. So my kidlet asked me, Mama, can you have super moons with the new moon? And I was like, I don't think so, right? Because but I was like, I don't know. All we ever celebrate or acknowledge really is the fact that it's a super moon and it's a full moon. And so we looked it up. I was like, oh yeah. And it makes sense that the new moon can also be a super moon because it's like how close it is and how big it looks. But we just don't, if it's not big and flashy like the full moon, we're just like, it's not such a big deal. But yes, it is. I bet you any money, if we took a look at the new moons that were super moons, we would notice the intensity in which we're feeling that moon, right? Speaking of intensity, so I pulled my own card today. I tend to pull these regularly enough, right? Helps stay connected. So we're in the mandala room. This is where I do my lovely healing sessions and guidance and stuff, as well as if I have distant sessions as well, I come into this space. And so this is super safe, super powered up vortex. And it's like anything else. The more you use something, the more the more power gets activated in that center, right? The more energy that thrives in there. So I come in here quite a bit, even when I'm not in session. It's a very safe, sacred space in our house. So today I pulled a card and totally let me know if you've been feeling this last week as well. I pulled splitting apart, which so this is all about eliminating the old. There's like the little death piece. There could be a feeling of that collapsing of something we know and something we are letting go of. We can feel the space that it lingered within us or that it inhabited within us. When it leaves, we get this like little sensation of like collapsing in on itself. And we're just like, oh no, because there's this void there now, right? Until it learns to stand on its own, that space, or it's filled with something else. So, yeah, interesting. So we'll see what happens. What else is going on, Astra? So, this week, I've been focusing more and more because the spring has been like up, that vibratory nature of spring, and we're coming into summer, so that vibratory nature is going to get more and more intense. So this last week, I don't me and dates and times, the only reason I usually know what the date is, truthfully, I'm more of a cyclical person. So I tend to follow, like if somebody says, remember that thing that happened in 2015? And I'm like, no. Like, remember it happened on this day? For myself, I'm like, no. I remember though it was in the spring. Like I remember those kinds of things. And so I know my calendar because I hold space for people and I have a kidlet. So anyway, sometime last week is where I was getting to. Full moon abundance. Was feeling very, very overwhelmed. So I came to sit, and for me, singing helps to release that stuckness because I feel it here right behind my thymus and in my throat. So I was doing some singing, and all of a sudden, shards of, it felt like crystals or ice, like really that crystalline kind of structure straight through the heart. right? Multiple times. And then downloads. Got this beautiful template. My partner's currently working on an image for me so I can do a little post of it, of some hieroglyphs. And I'm going to be doing a painting. It's downstairs getting ready. I'm very excited. I'm going to work on it after this. But the opening, right? Apparently I'm saying I'm a lot today. But the opening that happened and the downloads that were coming through and this abundance, we often when we hear abundance, we're like, oh, money, oh, things in my life. No, we can have this abundance of energy. We can have this abundance of creativity. We can have an abundance of joy, an abundance of love, an abundance of grief. Like, it can come in multiple forms. And so I had this mass download. My beautiful child, I'm so in love with that kidlet. What are the symbols, mama? Like, let's look them up. I know what they do because they've told me and I could feel it and I experienced it. I'm like, but let's look them up. So we went through and looked through all the symbols, and there's a reason why symbology, when we see like the Australian symbols, from the indigenous, and then South American indigenous tribes, and Mongolian, and like all these different tribal symbols are very reflective of each other, and there's a reason for that. It's not that they could walk across the earth and share these symbols, right? There was other things occurring to help get these symbols from land to land. So, what was the reason for that story? The reason for this story is continue to remain open to the messages that you're being gifted. So the Pleiadians, if this is your first time joining us, I don't say channeled. It's an easy term to use because people understand what that means, but it's gifted. I'm gifted these words and these images, and during sessions, my partner is lovely. When I do templates on them, they're able to tell me what points are doing, even though I don't really have a knowledge of acupuncture. But last week, we were doing a session in the Pleiadians, so 7 sisters. There are 7 sisters, of which I'm 8. We were a group of priestesses that were last all incarnated in Egypt together. And since Yao came in, and it was just pure love and embodiment. And I know now, right now, I just got a lovely update that since Yao keeps showing themselves. Since Yao is is a high priest, that sometimes high priestess, very regal, very diligent, very disciplined, and so much love. And they are still with my client today, so it's almost a week later, and they're they keep just letting them know that they're loved, and it just, I mean, we all need that right now, don't we? The lack of touch for a lot of people, the lack of contact. If you're a major extrovert, or even if you're an introvert that likes to go out and socialize sometimes, there's a lot happening right now for people. It's like in this in this love space. I had a question from somebody I posted, what do people want to know about Pleiadians and Pleiadian healing? And one of the questions is like, how do you bring abundance and love, etc., into your life? And I talked to the sisters, and they were just like, be it. And we hear this, and some of the things that we hear seem so cliche because they've just over and over and over again, or how they're put. It can be kind of flippant, but it's not. Be that abundance. Be that love. So the abundance can be, and they give this image of abundantly giving of love, right? Like abundantly sharing, abundantly arriving for people's hearts. Which is interesting. So a couple of cards have come out, and so they're saying there's 3. And once we go through these guys, I will welcome your questions if you want a little bit of guidance too. And before, what is with my ums today? Ums are space fillers. I used to say like a lot. Right? When I was in my 20s, late teens, like was rampant. It's a space filler. So it's an interesting, noticed it this week. So we have three cards. The first one we're going to talk about is the now, is like very much that feeling of now. Okay. At the end, I'm going to tell you about a little something coming up because we have Beltane. Beltane. Yes, Kleenex. Allergies. Crazy town. Anybody else? Hands up. Crazy town. We had that warm streak. I've just been filling my partner with nettle. Nettle is your friend. Nettle is a natural antihistamine, let alone the nourishment of the minerals that are in it. And it's nettle season. Shocking that the plants should come out at the time that we need them. There's also, I am noticing, hands up. I'm noticing this bit of ramblingness, right? This like, hence the fullness. Speaking of fullness, Kit in the last threes, I won't be surprised if she comes in. She already gifted us something as I was setting up, but she's just been like, you might have seen my storyline with the moons as her eyes. That's literally what she's been like. She's like, touch me, don't touch me, and like following you around, and you're just like, dude. I was like, oh yeah, the moon, right? If we watch the animals, they give us a good indication of why we're also feeling a certain way. Yeah. So I totally forgot what was before that, but that's okay. Oh yeah, Beltane's on Saturday. I'll tell you a little something coming up, but I'll tell you about it later. So midpoint to summer from spring. Oh, there's so many cards that want to come out, but they'll just like keep coming. We'll be here for hours. Midnight, I'll show up. My partner will come home from work. Right? I'll be like, hi, I'm still awake, doing a live. So the now, the now. This one is very literal to the image today. So this one is the marrying maiden. Anybody else feeling a little of this? Feeling a little trapped, feeling a little bound, but looking out at this beauty, or one, looking out at the beauty, and two, looking down and being like, oh, but look what we were gifted. These beautiful flowers. Yeah, they're gonna die. Because they've been pulled. It's a front. So it's not that they're gonna die. It's that they were never alive to begin with. That's a facade. So this color, this like, look, it's beautiful. Here you go. You've been gifted this item. But to collect this, you need to be this. Bound, right? Married to the belief of what this represents. I will admit, part of the reason why I haven't been on live as much throughout the full moons and the new moons and those is because the messages are very similar throughout each of them, and it's not that they don't need to be heard. It needs to be paced for a lot of people, right? Because we're bombarded so much. I'm sure you all know what I'm referring to, so I'm not even gonna name it. And in the process of what I'm doing, I need to still be able to show up for my clients, for myself, and for my family. And so that's my pacing, that's my boundary, that's my being versus doing. So one of the keys here is succumbing to seduction, right? So how does that look for you right now? What is the seduction that is before you? What is the beauty that is before you? What is the gift that is before you? What is the bribe that is before you? And what is actually behind it? They keep showing me the images of these melting, and the color melting, and it's just dull. and then they're melting. And they're like that toxic sticky tar. Okay. Remember to get back to the earth. Get back to the earth and consciously clear yourself. It's easy to be like, oh yeah, I went out to the earth, I put my feet on the ground, I did some grounding, I did some earthing, it was great, I went for a walk in the woods. Awesome, all good things. Now take it a step further. Go for a walk in the woods, and every time you breathe out those little pieces that don't feel good. Whether it's a mental thought or a cellular stickiness that you can feel, breathe it out. Give it to the trees, give it to the earth, even as you're walking in the woods. Feel that. Breathe out through the feet. When you breathe in, you bring in the transmutation, you bring in the earth energy to fill back up those spaces so that the sticky can't cling again. Continue to do this. Continue. This is at the beginning of everything last spring. Had a very big conversation with an arbutistry about what was going to come and what was coming, and their key point was go into nature 100%. It increases your success of making it through everything. And we're not just talking death. We're also talking mental and heart. Right? Walking zombies. It's a thing, right? It makes me think I was about to grab my phone. I was stuttering. I was like, but my phone is, that wouldn't look very good. You'd be like, what's going on? Okay. Into the earth, onto the earth. If you can do barefoot, it's better, but consciously clearing yourself, okay? Actively versus passively. Passively, I'm a fan of crystals, as we know, my vibrational elixirs, and if you could see this room, they're everywhere, propped up by two right here, a little sodalite and a little auralite. But that's very passive. You're not doing anything. So it's happening, but you're not involved in an active manner, right? Okay. If you have any questions as we're going along, I'm in nature right now. Yes, you are. Woo! If you have any questions as we're going along, please just enter them. Words. The more light codes I speak, the more regular words, translations of a stuttering effect. Type them in there. I'll get to them. If I happen to miss it, because it scrolls up, just give me a little like, hey, don't forget about me. So if there's any questions as we're talking through this stuff. So there's two other cards. So the Marrying Maiden, I'm sure you'll understand that one. If you don't, like I said, questions, totally welcomed. Gathering together. So I'm asking, okay guys, I'm asking what this card represents. I often pull in threes. One of my favorite card pulls is what is the now, and then the next card is how do I support this, or how do I get out of this, depending on what the first card is. How do I change my trajectory, or how do I support this? One is the higher self, and what that needs as support, and one is the physical self, the earthly self. This time, gathering together is what is lacking. So gathering together. Nature. Interesting. Right? Back to nature. I love these cards. So this is what is missing a hosta but this is also what is going to shift us. Sum is greater than its parts, right? When we're segregated, what ends up happening, we get in our own minds. It's easier to be influenced. This makes me think of what is it called? Movement, I guess. So Sasha Stone, I'm blessed with my partner. My partner is my filter. So they filter things for me and they tell me the things that pertain to me, or I say, hey, give me a new piece of news when I know my nervous system is willing and capable to handle it, right? I have the capability at that time. And the capacity. That's what you also have to look at. What is your capacity right now? And if you already feel that you're at max capacity, don't add any more. Put your feet in the earth, right? So Sasha Stone and this group of people, I just know the gist because I can only handle so much. They're creating this movement and they're going to be traveling around. I'm not quite sure exactly where. My understanding is the world, but it might just be North America, but I'm not sure. So I'm sure if you Sasha Stone Google search it, it'll come up, but they're going around and they're talking to the masses. And it refers to a lot of people, their belief systems. Everybody's belief systems are a little bit different. What is the truth that feels right for you, right? That's what I support in my space. What is the truth that feels right for you? And how do you feel safe? So this gathering together is what is missing, and it was what is creating this crack, and what is creating this limitation, and this bound feeling, especially with a papa's diet. They say, especially with all this out there, all this space, all this capacity for connection and community, and what communities are the ones that are the strongest, and what ones are the ones that have less crime and challenges and mental health challenges and all of those things. Those are the ones that have community. This coming together. How can you get this gathering together in a way that feels safe for you? Like I said, everybody's capacity for feeling safe is different. Not capacity, how they feel safe. Also your capacity. But how you feel safe is different. So how, with feeling safe for you, can you create this sense of community? Is it something small, but also so big? Such a thing. Dropping a package off for your neighbor. Being at the grocery store and being like, you know what? I thought you might need some of these. I brought you some flowers. It doesn't even have to be something that's usable, right? Usable. Functional. It can be something that is functional in a different way. I.e. the warming of the heart. That reminder that somebody is loved. That they matter. Even if it's somebody that you don't see all that often. Right? I used to see this lady at the bus stop. And then all of a sudden, she wasn't there. And then all of a sudden, she was there. This was years and years and years ago. And I'd never talked to her before. And I just looked over and I was like, hey, I've missed you. Because she was a staple at my bus stop. And she was so sweet. And then we ended up building this lovely little friendship. It was amazing. But it was that, hey, I missed you. You matter to me, even though I don't know you. But I know you. Yeah? That feeling. I just had a gathering last night with my Ignite group. It was so powerful. Yes. Right? So this Ignite group is this group that you are currently holding, yeah? And this is on Zoom, if I'm not mistaken, with the elemental being. And maybe that's how it feels safe for you, is doing it over the internet. Maybe it feels safe for you to go out for a walk with some friends. Maybe dropping something off for somebody, offering to do something for somebody, just the five of us. Yes. Oh, I love it. Okay, gotcha. Oh. And that's what we need to continue doing. What feels truthful for you, and how do you continue to create this sense of community and gathering that feels safe for you and nourishing for you and supports the heart? Okay? Awesome. Oh, this is different. I was thinking, awesome. Cool. I was thinking of the other thing, unless that's the same thing. I don't know. I know you have that thing going on, so I think it's lovely. Gatherings in general, right? And being in person, like, I'm a hugger. I'm a proponent of hugs. I offer the hug. Does the hug still feel safe for the other person? Feels safe for me. Bring it in. Hug it out. And how many people I've heard stories of and seen personally that you hug and you can literally feel the hunger in their cells to the point of tears. Of like, oh my goodness, I miss this. Right? Speaking of digital detox, I challenge you to digital detox, i.e., which I say, and we're all hanging out on digital right now. But I mean, limit how much media you ingest. If you ingest a lot of media, if it doesn't pertain to you, why? Just a question. Is it nourishing? Or is it creating that fear cycle? Yeah, the fear and the heart cycle. I read this, oh, I wish I could read it to you. It's on my phone. This wonderful thing today about the Abazito ko, it's a different template that I'm working on, acupuncture template, and one of the points, Tong Li, and oh, actually, let me see. Tong Li is Heart 5. Heart 5 is a wonderful point. I'm wondering if I actually put it in this book here. No, I did not. But it speaks of when our minds get wrapped up, when they keep going and round and round and round and round and round and round and round, our heart can't be full. Our heart becomes stagnant. Our heart becomes fearful, right? Because our mind goes around and around and around, and we call it the avalanche catastrophizing snowball. So anytime in this house, teaching my kidlet, oh, does that thought help get you out of the thought that wasn't serving you, or does it add to it to continue snowballing it? So this last card is about two pieces. It's the limitation that is placed on us by this, and it's the limitation placed on yourself. So limitation, beautiful card. Yeah. Now, limitation, isn't all about limitation isn't always bad. Yeah. When I was in high school, many, many moons ago, in art class, and I was always this perfectionist with my paintings, right? Kind of a theme of my childhood and my life. Everything had to be a certain way, very specific, right? And my teacher said, I give you 20 minutes to do a painting. I was like, what? I was like, no. But she saw how long it took me to do one painting because I was so hyper focused on like, well, if I don't do that or if I use this color, blah, 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 right? And then another time she says to me, you get these 3 colors and this time limit. And I was like, what do I do? Some of my favorite paintings came out of those times. So there was limitations on what I could do, but through that I had the creativity. Yeah? So we can think of limitations, self-discipline as well, self-disciplinary limitations of, you know what? I'm going to limit my media ingestion. I'm going to limit how much I'm in front of my computer, and I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go outside, but I find I do that and I avoid other things, so I'm going to limit myself to a certain timeline. I'm only able to, I'm using a lot of real examples right now because of all the things I'm seeing in my space with my clients. I am going to limit myself to a Netflix show only after I've done this. You know, maybe it's showered and put on clothes. Maybe it's, for me, I took some time to be instead of do. Yeah? And that's really important space. So this is blank space. This is where you have nothing planned and you're just like, okay, it's going to hang out. And it's okay if you choose to do something, but it's also okay to sit there and do nothing. And highly encouraged for a period of time. They're like, I have half an hour of just being, scheduled being time. And there's no negotiations the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes. It's only being. Limitation. What does this make us think of? Self-discipline. There's the lotus. This is all about ritual. Patience. The year of patience. Building up your energy. I don't know how often I pull a card and literally I'll be like, but I need to go and do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And for those of you that do know me or have worked with me, I myself have chronic conditions and I'm a doer. And so I'll be like, but why am I back in bed today? Why is this happening? And then I'll pull the card that's like, pull back. And by pulling back, you create more. Let's try that again. By pulling back, you create more. Right? For other people with chronic conditions out there, I'm sure you know this, the spoon theory here, you know, you're like, I have 5 spoons today. If I use all 5 spoons up today, I might only have 3 tomorrow. It's those kinds of things. So yes, there's these limitations happening here because of the influence on here, right? Which are causing limitations. But what are you doing with those limitations? What are you doing with self-limitations, self-discipline, the rituals? What rituals have you created? What nourishment have you created for yourself during this time? Massive introspection. I've yet to meet one person that has been like, oh yeah, no, everything's like, I haven't looked at anything in my life. No, massive introspection happening. What do you actually want? What is fully nourishing for you? Not the like, well, I kind of think I want this. Or you say what you want, but in the back of your head, you're like, yeah, I'm buffering it because I know that somebody else wouldn't want that or this would affect them in this way. Obviously, we know that if it's going to affect somebody else to the point of like super detriment, as opposed to they won't like this, okay, well, that's theirs to deal with, not yours. They won't like this, right? But if you're like, you know what, I need to build in that ritual of going up and meditating for an hour. Well, the other person wants to interact the whole time. Well, that's okay, but this is your boundary and this is your self-discipline. Going for a walk, you're going to go for a walk by myself, creating that ritual, cultivating patience with other people and their boundaries. But what do you need? Write a list of 5 pure needs, 5 pure nourishing things for you. It can be anything. One of my nourishing things, I call them tiny homes, which is so funny. Every time we drive by, I'm like, tiny home! That's not what it is. It's a little library, but my brain just says tiny home. Luckily, Derek knows what I'm talking about. And by then, he's usually pulling over anyways to go. He's like, let's go! Because they nourish me. Books nourish me. And the knowledge and the wisdom and I just love words. So, yeah, 5 things that are nourishing to you. Is it time alone? Is it knowledge pieces? Is it spirit work? Is it, is it nourishing for you and not negotiable? So we're talking nourishing, not negotiable, right? If it's nourishing and non-negotiable, it could be going to get body work, going for coffee with a friend. What fills your container? Not what you're told has to. What fills your container? Full moon is often the culmination, and you hear a lot of talk about like new moon is when you create the intention so that it can then grow, and full moon is when it culminates. I personally do both. Full moon, new moon. Full moon to me this is when the power is the fullest. So this is when I create my intentions. This is when I ask for the abundance that I would like in certain areas. Yeah. What feels good for you? What feels like truth for you? There's also potency on the new moon and letting it grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. Right? For me, it feels more for the full moon. Because there's already this abundance there. If you have any questions about these 3 cards, like I said, please let me know. If you have any questions or would like a card pulled for you, also please let me know. This is your floor to get a little bit of clarity on what's coming up for you now. Maybe it's clarity of something that's happened. There's this pinhole in somebody's heart. It's an ache. It's like heart here. And so the inner portion. Yeah, somebody. Speaking of heart, yes, both of you, I will. Okay. Earlier we were talking about, I've been sitting on the floor a lot today, and my olding body says no thank you. That's okay. Talking about the heart earlier and that shard. Something that can happen when you're going through. Awesome. Thank you, elemental being. Brandy. As you're going through this, I've been trying to figure out a new word. The I am, connecting to your I am seed, connecting to your heart field frequency, right? You can call it ascension, you can call it awakening. It's not necessarily spiritual, but it is a change in your vibration. It is a realization of reality for you. You can experience chest pain. This isn't something to shake a stick at. I'm not saying like, oh, you have chest pain, it's going to be spiritual. Oh, you have lower back pain, it's totally spiritual. That's spiritual whitewashing at its finest. No. Always suggest, if you've never had the sensation before, you head over to the emergency. They have a lovely file on me when I was first going through my mass awareness and awakening, en masse for sure. And I don't know how many times I've been hooked up to a heart monitor, but your heart is literally undergoing structural changes to allow more heart. Okay, so your heart is growing. Mass ear tone here. It's growing and creating these crystalline honeycomb pockets. For more heart energy. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the heart frequency, the vibration that it gives out is huge. Like emanating huge. And the more you do this work and the more you do this growth, and the more you connect to your I am heart seed and your I am heart frequency, the bigger this field becomes and the more people are influenced, and the more their heart responds. Their heart's like, oh, hey, that's what that feels like. Hey, here we go. And that's how, by working on your healing, you're helping other people as well, even if they aren't directly working on their healing, because you're shifting your vibration. So the vibration's like, oh, I like how that feels. That feels amazing. That feels aligned. Let's do this. Right? So that heart, and so it's that so so one of you, it's less now, but the shard in the heart, but it was a golden it is a golden, it's still there. It's a golden pin. So it's in the right. I think I probably look left to you right now, but it's in the right quadrant. Upper quadrant down a little bit and a little bit towards the front. So gold is the frequency that nothing else can enter. Yeah. No other entities can come through that color. Which is why at the end of my sessions, I cover my client that I'm working with in a golden shroud. Sometimes it comes as golden sparkles, which is really fun when it's like stardust coming down. It's just like a dusting of stardust, of gold. Okay, Brandy. You're first. Up to what do I need to know as I move forward? That's na. Yeah. Okay. Ready? This is approach. I love this card. It's so pretty. I love these cards. If you've never seen these cards, the Tao Oracle. Okay, so the approach. Interesting. As you move forward. Coming up to this archway, right? So this is also an 11. Keep your eyes out. So arches, 1-1. Keep your eyes out for 11s. So they're going to let you know that what you're doing is continuing along the right path, the aligned path, the path that you need, not need. The path that is going to continue to nourish the path that you were desiring. By doing so, you've got, this is a very amazing card for the warm reception is prosperousness. Is that a word? Prosperousness. Prosperous conditions with the cherry blossoms. What's going on? If you're in Victoria right now, so we call it snow in our house. We will actually shake the trees when we go by, and my kid's like, it's snowing! So much fun. So one thing to remember, as you are making this approach in, to this next step, is to not allow it to get too heavy, right? Lighten it up. Keep it joyful. Not whitewashing. That's not what we're talking about. It's not everything is all love and light, right? There's the things that happen. But just to remember that things aren't always so serious. And even though you have all these projects, and you're like, yes, and when we create these projects, our heart is in them, right? They're part of us. We're like, I created this, I birthed this, oh, this is a piece of me. It's so, it can feel intense because it's vulnerable. It's a piece of us. Just also remember that, I was thinking, they're saying, also remember it's not the end of the world. The world will not end if things don't work out. But that's not what this is pointing to, all not even to worry about that. But to have that thought, that tiny thought that can get in our brains, and in our hearts and in our bodies of like, what if? What if? What if? What if? Just, you know what? We're doing what we're doing. I'm blessed to be doing this. Another word that I want to try and find a replacement to. I feel it's been overused. The blessed. I'm choosing to do this, right? Woo. You have a cherry blossom necklace? Then you need to be wearing it. Yeah, right? Okay. Any questions about that? Let me know. Okay. Next person was Danielle. Danielle, if you have a specific question, let me know. If not, we will just see what the cards have to say. Okay, Danielle. Modesty. This is about moderation. You're so welcome. And the moderation has to do with your own boundaries. Ashna ma kutnino ma na apos na oh gosh na stito posh na. There's something going on that needs to be not needs to be simplification is required right now. Moderation, simplification, at the and these boundaries, I keep being shown these boundaries at the and these boundaries are put in place for you. So it's viewing the situation and asking for something or stopping something because you deserve it. It's out of your own self-respect. So I'm not no clarity on what it is. But there's this something. There's this output. It just keeps happening and happening and happening and happening and happening. Pull it back. Because this output isn't for you. Even though it's easy to say it's for you. But it's for an outside source or an outside reason. And this goes back. Oh, I totally. It goes back to what we were talking about before, is what they keep telling me. I can't bring up, and this is part of what happens when the channeling is coming through, the gifting of the information is coming through, because I don't always remember what was said in the moment. So this self-respect can be done. You want you are worth the self-respect. You are worth these boundaries. You are worth this request for you. And compassion for you through making these requests to simplify, to moderation. And they might be verbal requests, they might be actions you take. Take them with compassion, right? It's interesting because I'm seeing other people, but it's not, and this is why I'm having a hard time with wording. It's because there's other people, but there's not like a direct. It's not like one single person. There's not like a cord between you and this entity. I guess we'll call it this entity. So when I say having compassion for yourself, and then the one part of my head says wants to say compassion when you're making this request to this other person, but that doesn't it's not a single person. How are you showing up for others versus yourself? How much are you putting out for others versus yourself? When was the last time you like full on towards yourself? Loved yourself. And really, really talk to yourself and like bathe yourself in that love of I love you, I honor you, I respect you. You haven't done anything wrong. You've done the best you could. And really that simplification of nourishment. I'm getting these thoughts of convalescence, right? So when somebody's really sick, convalescence, and they're starting to heal and they're coming back, and you feed them nourishing food and you keep them warm and you get them, their needs are met so that they can become healthy. And so there's this energy, this sense of what do you need right now to feel nourished, to feel loved from yourself, not from anybody else, from yourself. Snatatukoa ni tatato. Do those things. Yeah. You deserve those things. In doing those things, you are showing respect for yourself and your own boundaries. Honoring of your own self. If you have any other questions about that, please let me know. Okay, anybody else? If there's anybody else that would love a question, or love a card, a question. I would love a question. If you have any questions, while if anybody's else, while we're waiting for people to ponder, if they would like to ask a question, I'd let you know of a little something happening on Beltane. So my lovely divine cosmic partner and I do sacred group healing activations. They are based on Pleiadian healing and crystal healing, and we do them once a month. It just so happens it's so interesting because I was like, I totally didn't even plan. I was like, okay, these are the weekends at work, but how beautifully amazing. No, wait, I totally planned this. So Beltane, no. This Saturday, Beltane, we'll be having our sacred group activation, and I tuned into the sisters and was like, okay, let's really focus. So you get what you need out of these healing sessions. They look like a guided meditation, and then you get to sit there, lay there, be within your space, and just bathe in these vibrational energies, right? And through the external grids, your body, so like the grid lines around your body and the earth, that's how we connect in. So when I asked the guys, I was like, okay, what's this one going to focus on? Let's like up it. Let's amp it up. So this weekend, you ready for this? We're going to open the Crystalline Abundance template. How perfect, because we're still going to be in the penumbra, the outer vortex of this super moon, this abundance, right? We're going to open the personal solar galactic sun. This relates to the solar plexus and sun, light, abundance, energy, current, vibration. Let's keep it going. Raise your solar plexus chakra. So also related to the antakarana. Solar plexus antakarana. Antakarana's rainbow bridge. This goes up to your higher self. And by they're all connected. All your chakras go up. They kind of parallel up into the, can't even see all the way up in here, right? Keep going. To go and increase your capacity to maintain a central energy field that renews itself. A central energy field that renews itself. So it's an internal circuit that continues, and every time it goes around, it builds the energy. It's like a battery. When you run the battery in your car, it charges itself. Well, that's what this was going to do for us on Saturday. Yeah? Plus whatever else it is that gets called in, that is a requirement. Yeah. So if you're interested in that, totally just send me a little message, a little DM. Spaces are limited, but totally Saturday 11 to 1 Pacific Standard Time. It's gonna be fun. Always is. Oh my goodness. Okay. Any other questions to journal on besides the 5 things for nourishment? Expand the 5 things of nourishment journaling. Yeah? So make your list first. Make the list of 5 things. Really focus on those. Pie in the sky. It's whatever you need. If you notice yourself thinking of something and then be like, no, I can't. Write it down. Just write it down. Once you have your things down, beside it, write further. Write further. So look into it further of why is it currently not happening? What is preventing you in this moment from that being alive and an action that is happening in your world? And then the second piece is, how can you make it an action in your world right now? How can you make it present in your world right now for you, right? If you have to list steps, first this needs to happen, then this, list it. They're showing me the mind map. Mind map. So, you know, where you have like your topic in the middle, and then you put like, who can help me? And this would be the who line. And then you'd have like the who bubbles. Who can help you achieve this goal, right? What's preventing you from achieving this goal? How can you, and so bubbling, right? That's bringing in the creative side of it. If one of the things on your list was one of those things where you're like, oh, I can't put that down, or that's not possible, and you put it down anyways, so we've already talked about why isn't it present, how can you make it present? But the third question for those ones would be, what energy of what prevented you from thinking you were not worthy, or what prevents you from thinking you're worthy, not worthy of this, right? Because there's a piece of unworthiness attached to those ones. To empower even more the imagery. The words are becoming hilarious because in my head they're becoming more light codes. To access the subconscious, but also to take out the thinking mind and to go into the very deep energy. Right? The nourishment piece with the right hand. Oh, I say right hand because I'm right hand dominant. With your dominant hand. And write the answers to the other questions with your non-dominant hand. What is preventing it from appearing in your life? And how can you help it be present in your life? And why do you not feel worthy of it in your life? Right? Dominant hand to write, and write, not type. Write it. If possible, pencil on paper. For the life of me, I can't remember where that study was from. But if you write with pencil on paper, there's something to do with the texture that actually triggers the brain even more than pen on paper. And typing is a whole nother ballgame. It doesn't actually trigger the same things. And if you do cursive, you actually use creative sides as well of your brain as well, right? Right. Good question. Thank you. How can we go deeper? Right? If anybody has any questions, we still got a couple minutes here. And I want to say thank you so much for all of you guys for joining. I know what it's like. We're busy and we're also not busy at the same time. And I love that you're here. This will be posted on IGTV. And also on YouTube, my YouTube channel, Hillary Raven Porter. Is there anything else, you guys? Remember that you are. Remember to come from the heart. Sometimes is not so easy. And can come from a pain. Thank you. Come from pain. Come from the heart. All aspects. Okay. Thank you so much, you guys. Oh, grateful for you. Okay. Questions, comments, anything like that? Totally. What did they say? What do the kids say these days? Slide on over to my DMs. You totally send me a message if you have any questions, any comments, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Okay? Happy super full moon and soon to be Beltane.